Hey everyone, Joey here. Thanks for tuning into our most recent diving adventure. On this trip, we dove at 2 sites at Puako on Kona side of Big Island, Hawaii. So many incredible things happened on this dive. Becca dove under her first sea arch, we swam with a beautiful majestic spotted eagle ray and had close encounters with sharks. Mike got spined by a sea urchin, and we also saw some very interesting and amazing sea life like this cute little porcupine fish who was wandering around, white-mouthed moray eels claiming their territory, huge crown of thorns sea stars, needle-like trumpetfish, and of course a crowd favorite, sea turtles. We experienced all this by diving through flooded lava tubes, our favorite way to explore. Before we dive in, don't forget to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It's super easy, super free, and it really helps out this channel. Thank you so much for your support by smashing that like button and subscribing. We really appreciate it and look forward to providing more Hawaii adventures and finance content. Let's dive in. Here's the first sea arch we came across on our dive, which was an absolutely perfect scenario for Becca to conquer her fear of diving through something where there's a solid formation separating her from the surface above. The archway is about 20 feet below the surface with a massive opening to swim through. Mike, Trevor, and I swim through and scope it out first while Becca dives down to work on her breath holds, mentally preparing herself for her first sea arch dive through. There's all sorts of weird and wonderful creatures to meet who are sometimes as curious about us as we are of them. I remember diving through my first sea arch and it is invigorating. Adrenaline surges through your veins, your heartbeat increases, which doesn't help with oxygenating your body underwater. Becca takes a few practice test dives and then, with no warning, takes the plunge and doesn't look back. I dive down behind her, adjusting my position in the water to make sure I catch this moment on film. Needless to say, we were all stoked for Becca. It's always a great accomplishment diving deeper and staying under the water longer, so we were all super proud of her for reaching this milestone.
Nice job!
Puako is absolutely filled with lava tubes, and the next one we find is a small eerie opening with clear blue light illuminating the seafloor. We investigate the small arch and find a hungry sea turtle who is nibbling on some algae in a cave at the bottom. This guy looks pretty old, seeing how much algae is growing on his back. The shells of the younger ones are generally brighter, with their designs being more prominent, like this one. This little guy came up for 3 breaths of air before getting a little frightened from not noticing us, then calmly cruised back down to the seafloor. As we followed, he led us directly to the entrance of the next lava tube where he took shelter. Mike and Trevor dove down first to check it out and I followed their lead. The cave entrance is a little tight but opens up significantly once we get through. As we're swimming through, we notice our turtle buddy chilling out under an overhang in the lava tube. If you look closely on the right side of the screen, there are 2 blue spots that were also small exits to the tube, but they looked too small to fit through, so I headed for the surface. On a dive that Trevor and Mike did together, Mike went first, but I only see Trevor emerge from where I just swam through. After getting a little nervous, in the distance I see Mike swimming out of one of the small cave exits. I honestly didn't think any of us could fit through, so I'm glad he made it through without any snags. Mike's a pretty good diver, so I trust his ability to know when something is out of his comfort zone.
That looks sketch! I'm not doing it!
The next sea arch we find is relatively close to the surface as well. Although it may seem repetitive to dive through several different sea arches, it's great practice for breath holding, and each arch has a different formation with different features and creatures that call it home. All of these lava tubes and arches were formed by large pockets of air being trapped in past lava flows from an eruption of one of the Hawaiian volcanoes. Sometimes, to gain new perspectives, I'll dive through a lava tube upside down to check out the urchins, sea stars, and other sea life growing on the underside of these magnificent structures. Looking directly skyward from the seafloor is a wonderful view that almost feels like flying. The ocean is a vast expanse, and being able to travel in vertical directions is a luxury we don't have control over in our 2-dimensional lives on land. If you're wondering about how Mike ended up with 12 urchin spines in his arm, it happened as he was diving through this lava tube. It has a few entrances, and unfortunately Mike chose an entryway that was a little tight and bumped into the urchin as he was passing through. In this dive, we both go through the larger opening, which isn't much larger, but you can see how many urchins are lining the entrance. Once we're through, there are 2 different paths to take, left and right, that both lead out. From my angle, and because this is my first dive through, I choose the larger opening to play it safe. This is one of the deeper lava tubes that we swim through, so I chose to stay comfortable and calm while underwater rather than risking a panic from a narrow exit. Trevor is keeping an eye out for us on the surface. As I'm going up for air, I notice this crazy looking sea star called Crown of Thorns. This is one of the largest starfish in the world, and its spines produce a very painful toxin that can last for hours. Luckily for Mike, his impalement was from a black long spine urchin, which have very long sharp spines but no toxins. We're about 100 meters from shore, so Trevor and I both attempt to remove the spines unsuccessfully before Mike plucks them out or breaks them off one by one himself.
got you good. Okay.
Once Mike got the majority of the spines out, we continue our journey up the coast, diving through amazing crevices, sea arches, and lava tubes. We also stumble across some interesting animals like this white-mouthed moray eel that is warning us by waving its head back and forth with its mouth open. These are the most common eel in Hawaii and generally spend their time slithering through coral where yellow tang feed. There's an abundance of sea life everywhere you look, and perhaps none more majestic than the spotted eagle ray, which often search for food on sandy seafloors. The one we saw was about 50 feet down, and we took turns diving to get closer looks. These rays move so elegantly through the water like they're flying and not in a hurry to get where they need to be. Luckily for us, the visibility was pretty good that day, so we could see it all the way from the surface. We followed it around for a few minutes to study this amazing, beautiful creature. Eagle rays have several venomous barbed stingers at the base of their tail under their pelvic fins, but are considered relatively harmless unless threatened. We've also witnessed these flying creatures leap out of the water at 45-degree angles at high speeds several times over when traveling in groups. This truly was a treat to see on our dive at Puako. Spotted eagle rays have a predator that we also encountered. On a scouting mission, Mike had quite the scare as he was about to enter a small lava tube arch. As he swims to the surface, I dive down to take a look at what emerges from under the arch, a white-tip reef shark. As it turns out, white tips are mostly active at night and spend much of the day resting on the sandy ocean floor or, ironically, in lava tubes. These animals, like the spotted eagle ray, are relatively harmless to divers and swimmers, although they often attempt to steal fish caught by spearfishers.
White tip! Yeah, I got it on film!
We followed this white tip around and saw that it had a smaller fellow white tip join it on its casual swim. One looked slightly smaller than the other, and we thought that this could be a mother and pup swimming together. They both took spots on the sandy bottom and allowed us to take turns diving to get closer looks. At one point, the smaller shark adjusted its body position, circled around the larger shark that could have potentially been its mom, and rested its head on the larger shark's front fin. If this isn't a snuggle, then I don't know what is. This was an incredible behavior to witness and was a complete paradigm shift for me to realize that sharks are relational animals. Regardless of whether or not that behavior was an intimate move seeking nearness, that's certainly what it looked like, and it was truly fascinating to see that interaction and be able to share that with you guys through this video. On my deepest and closest dive towards the sharks, the smaller shark started swimming towards me. I didn't want to interact with this shark on this dive, especially if the larger shark was the smaller shark's protective mother. I played it safe, and instead of swimming closer, I headed to the surface. I also don't want to get into a tussle with a shark in deep water because they are much faster than I am, and I also have the disadvantage of needing to return to the surface for air.
Incredible.
Overall, this was an exceptional day of diving. We headed back towards the shore, doing a few more dives through crevices and arches. I forgot my weight belt on one of our dives, and Mike generously offered to switch off using his. It didn't occur to me at the time, but handing off the weight belt above a dark cavern probably wasn't the best idea. On our way in, we saw tons of beautiful fish, including this unique trumpet fish that has a very long, thin body and can use its small fins to propel itself frontwards and backwards. Once we got back on land, we assessed the urchin wound.
Oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
What's it say?
Don't pee on it.
Dude, don't listen to what she has to say. Just pee on your arm.
Oh, but just don't push it hard.
Okay, pressure.
Take your time.
Wait, okay, nobody.
Don't take your time, Kalani. Just do it. Just rip
Oh!
No way. It did break. Wait. Yeah. Did anything happen? No, I got a little actually. Look. Oh, I wonder if I have a sharper tweezer.
That first one hurt.
Thanks again for watching, guys. As usual, don't forget to hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really helps my channel, and it's something that's super easy and free for you guys to do to show a little bit of support for this channel. If you'd like to follow along with more of our Hawaii adventures, don't forget to subscribe. We'd love for you to be a part of it there and interact with you through comments and live videos. Until the next Hawaii adventure, I'm Joey. I'll see you soon.